Hello, welcome back to Gamescom. Today we're joined by Bryce, who's the Director of Marketing on WWE 2K16. Thanks very much for talking to us, Bryce. How are you?
Thanks for coming by.
Thank you. And first of all, I just want to talk about the main man, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, even people who don't know much about wrestling know who Stone Cold Steve Austin is. So what does it mean to be able to have him back and have him on the cover of the game?
Yeah, it's great. We're very happy to have Stone Cold Steve Austin as our cover star for 2K16. We even say he's a cover legend or cover icon because arguably, most people would say that he's the most popular WWE superstar of all time, right? So it's very cool to be able to bring back the Stone Cold Steve Austin character, which hasn't been seen for quite a bit. Steve Austin himself is very active. He's got a top-rated podcast in a dozen territories around the world. He does TV and film, but you see him as Steve Austin, but it hasn't been Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? So when we filmed the piece with him, it was a symbolic, unearthing of that character. So yeah, we're very happy to be working with him, along with all the other WWE stars of today as well, right? So if you look around the room, you do have Stone Cold Steve Austin, but he is surrounded by, some fresh blood, right? So Finn Balor, for instance, a new signee by WWE International star, but hasn't really had his first WWE match. He's had matches in NXT, but not in WWE, right? Or Paige or Seth Rollins, but new crop of talent to also carry this campaign because you realize that if you're a current WWE fan, you also, you like the stars of today just as much as Stone Cold Steve Austin.
You mentioned also in the presentation this is the biggest roster you've ever had. So how many wrestlers are in the game, and how does that add to the game? I guess it must really just be fan-pleasing and also add to the authenticity of it, which must be key.
Yeah, I mean, from the feedback that we get, feedback and research, we've seen that the roster is something fans care about the most, right? They want as many playable options as you can have. So if last year, there were under 70, unique playable characters in the game, this year, there's over 120 unique models, right? So it's a huge number, it's a huge jump, and something that, is actually the first thing we came out with this year was that it's going to have the biggest roster that we've ever had. And that's in response to some feedback we've gotten over the years from the fans. So it's great. You're going to see a lot of great stars, past, present, and future, WWE. And then you'll start seeing a lot of those names in the very near future.
And you mentioned Finn Balor there, one of the new wrestlers in the game. We saw his entrance and how authentic it was. And I guess, hardcore wrestling fans, they're going to notice if anything is off in the way they move or the way they look. So can you tell us a little bit about how you nail that authenticity and why that authenticity is so important to 2K16?
Yeah, last year the team, so this game is made by Ukes along with Visual Concepts together. They did a great job of building a new engine for the game, right, for the new systems. Building a great foundation last year, and this year building on top of that. So a big part of that is adding a lot of the character, personality, emotion to not just the characters themselves and the matches, but the overall presentation and things like career mode, right? So for a specific character like Finn, he is such a unique character, right? So whether it's his gear or his body paint, the way he moves, crawls to the ring. When you look around that arena on TV or in the game, like in that video, you can see that everything, like all the things that add to the presentation of Finn Balor are all in there. So whether it's Titantron video, there's the LEDs around the bowl of the arena, on the side of the ring skirt, you have the ones by the stage, the ones on the side of the ramp, but there's a ton of different production elements just for Finn. But imagine that across 120 characters or so, right? So the team has put a ton of work into it to deliver that and make these guys unique personalities. And for Finn himself, he's never been in the game. It's his first time. So he actually came out and worked with the development team to capture a lot of his own mocap, right? So that entrance is very unique. And our fans will we've definitely heard over the years when things are not, spot on. So with him, we definitely had him come out to do his own mocap. And it's always fun to work with the guys when they first start because they're so excited to do their own stuff.
And we also saw, you said that you've done new facial scanning as well, which you've got new technology for that kind of thing. I guess with WWE, maybe more so than with any sports game, their faces is more important. Like, if you had a football game or a basketball game, there's not as much focus on the emotion and the drama in their face. So how important is it to really just nail their facial likenesses as well and make sure the emotion can actually come out through that?
Yeah, the facial scanning it works wonders in a lot of different ways, right? So first, it makes them look, as authentic as possible, right? It's literally like mapping out the structure of your face. But also, the guys do expressions when they're capturing the imagery, so that those can be put in the game as well. So another big thing this year, as you mentioned, was how do you bring that emotion into the game, right? Because the old adage is that you in wrestling or in WWE, you tell the story to the audience and to people at home or in the crowd through your expressions and the emotions that you're conveying on your face, right? Because you can't talk to the fans in the middle of a match. But that's how they know what's going on. So in the game, in the demo, for example, you can see with Daniel Bryan, when you can tell when he's got the upper hand or when he's wincing in pain or he's frustrated.
Yeah.
You can see all those emotions coming through. So yeah, it's a huge part of WWE, and we haven't been able to do that in other years, but this year finally, really being able to bring that character and personality to life through expressions. Yeah.
And people love obviously customizing the game as well. What options are there new in 2K16 for players who want to tinker with it, create their own stars?
Yeah, creation's always been such a huge feature in this game. The creation suite has always been very, very deep. With last year's, with 2K15, the creation suite didn't have some of the features that the series has had in other years, but the good news is the feedback was heard, and the development team has added back in, a lot of those features that the fans have loved. So coming back, obviously Create a Superstar's in there, but returning, you have Create a Diva, Create an Arena, so all the different elements within the ring, the arena itself, the ring. Then you have Create a Title as well. And then also a new thing called Create a Show, which is a lot of the presentation and production that goes into WWE broadcast.
Yeah.
So graphics and all those kind of things that surround the presentation. So a lot of different options for you to basically customize pretty much anything that you want that you see on WWE TV.
And just from getting into the actual gameplay of it now, I guess every year you strive to make this the most authentic wrestling experience possible. So what do you learn? What did you learn from 2K15? What have you changed and why? And what are the challenges every year of trying to look at what happened last year and implement it better for the 2K16?
Yeah, I mean the feedback from the fans, right, from our from journalists and from fans, it's heard every year, right? So every year it's a matter of getting the actual gameplay or the overall package to be as best as we can possibly get it to be. It requires a lot of tuning. So things like this engine, last year was year one, right? So this year it's adding a lot more meat on top of the bones. But we definitely, whether it's changes in WWE itself or from feedback that we hear, it's a matter of keeping the product as authentic as we can possibly make it each and every year.
Fantastic. And just to wrap up then, I've got to talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger being in the game, because that is like a huge deal.
Who doesn't like Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Exactly. Like, can you just give us a little bit of the backstory of how that came about? How you approached him, how you agreed to be in the game.
Yeah, it's been a very fun project, right? Because again, Arnold Schwarzenegger is probably one of the most beloved personalities on a global scale.
Yeah.
The last 30 years or so. He's also a big wrestling fan. He's been you go back and look at his bodybuilding pictures from back in the day, and there's pictures of him with Andre the Giant and Bruno Sammartino hanging out, right? So he always speaks very highly of WWE. He's been involved on and off for 15 years with WWE, and this past year he was inducted into their Hall of Fame as well. He's our special pre-order launch exclusive this year, and he follows a great lineage of characters that we've offered in that same role. It's probably my favorite announcement every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, because last year you had Sting, and before that the Ultimate Warrior, Mike Tyson, The Rock, right? So how do you follow that? So you go and find Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator, no less, in a WWE video game.
Wow.
Right. So it was a process between 2K and WWE. Everyone kind of put their heads together and figured it out, and then it was a matter of working with Arnold and getting everything done. And he sat in the scanning booth and got his face scanned just like everybody else to make sure he looks perfect. And then filmed a great commercial with us in a bar in Los Angeles to recreate that the biker bar scene from T2. And yeah, he's just a great dynamic personality.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for talking to us, Bryce. That is WWE 2K16. Make sure you check it out. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe because we've got absolutely loads more coming up from Gamescom.